What if I told you that you could shoot stunning 4K time-lapse videos with your iPhone with just one app and nothing else? Sounds too good to be true, right? Well, think again. Today I'm reviewing ReeLapse, a brand new time-lapse app from the guys at ReeFlex. Let's do this! All the magic happens inside a new app called ReeLapse, and we're going to check this app out today. So to get the best possible results, you're going to need a tripod. Because we're using an iPhone, we can go really lightweight. Nothing's going to be better for the job than the brand new compact tripod from ReeFlex. This thing only weighs 0.9 kg and can extend to up to 120 centimeters. And as with all ReeFlex's gear, this item is solid from top to bottom. Everything from this twisted smooth leg extension system all the way to this 360-degree rotating head for absolute precision. And also for a few of my shots, I'm going to be capturing some epic landscapes. So I'll be using some of ReeFlex's G series lenses. In particular, this anamorphic one's going to be epic. But before we get started, let's have a quick overview of the key features in the ReeLapse app. So over here on the right, you have the manual camera controls. By tapping on them, you can then use the slider to adjust things like exposure, shutter speed, ISO, white balance, and your manual focus. But if you don't want to do manual focus, you can just tap on the screen and it'll just do the focus for you. Just to the right on that menu, you have some other camera options. You have focus peaking, which helps you with your manual focus. Then you have a live histogram. Then above that, you have your zebra highlight warning that will help you to get your time-lapse video correctly exposed. Right at the end, on the right side of the app, you have the ability to shoot in 4K or max. Now I recommend you choose max. It's bigger, it's better, and you're gonna have a lot more flexibility in your post-production on that final video. Now just above that, you've got the good stuff. This option here will toggle on the time-lapse option. So to fully demonstrate this, we need something cool to time-lapse. Luckily, I was traveling down to London to visit some family and friends, and it was the perfect opportunity to capture some epic time-lapse videos. Now I've set up here at Piccadilly Circus with the ReeFlex compact tripod. In the middle of the screen, you will see frames, intervals, and effects. Frames is how many images you're going to capture in your time-lapse. Interval is the time gap between each frame. And finally, you've got effects, which allows you to add professional motion blur like you get with a pro level DSLR camera. For this first shot, I'm going to set the effects at 0.5 seconds on the cloud option. And you'll notice there's another option here called light trails, and we're going to get to that a little bit later. I'm also going to set my interval at 0.5 seconds. I want the final time-lapse video to be around 5 seconds. So we'll start to adjust the frames until I get the desired output length. But keep an eye on the capture time, because you don't want to be sitting around in a busy location, especially this one, for hours on end shooting your time-lapse. So let's kick off that first shot. Oh yes, very cinematic. And that added motion blur just gives it that pro level quality. So I guess you're asking yourself, that's all good, but how do I know what settings to use for things like interval and effects? Well, there is a general rule to match your effects to the interval time you're shooting. And for fast moving traffic or people, go for around half a second to a second. And when the scene gets slower, clouds, water, increase that to around 3 to 5 seconds. But I tell you what, rules are there to be broken. I certainly did not stick to these rules. As with anything in the space, photography, filmmaking, you got to find your own way. Check out this shot right here of Tower Bridge. I purposely broke the rule. I set the interval at 0.5 seconds, but I increased the effects all the way up to 5 seconds. See how the clouds move here with a lot more motion blur. Now this is more my style. And that's what I mean, don't worry about the rules, just get out there and be creative. Also check out this sunset shot at Buckingham Palace. I used the same settings, 0.5 intervals with 5-second cloud effect. So break the rules, there's no reason why you can't shoot clouds at any interval with any effect length. I mean check out this cloud shot at 0.5 seconds. The fast moving clouds just adds to the drama. I think you get the point, man. Just be creative, be yourself, try a bunch of different things and see what you can come up with. So let's move on to some shooting tips. And as I mentioned earlier in this video, you're gonna need a tripod. If you're not using a tripod, you're gonna struggle. Your results are gonna be jittery. You could try and prop up your phone somewhere. I tried to do this when I was shooting Big Ben, but just check this out. You can see a few of the micro shakes. But because we're using our phone, you don't need a big, heavy tripod. Look how small and light this ReeFlex compact tripod is. You can even just carry this in your backpack. And when you're around busy places like London, you can shoot some brilliant time-lapse videos. Another shooting tip is to use a gimbal. And gimbals are great for creating more interesting hyperlapse type shots. And in central London, there's a famous walk all the way up to St. Paul's Cathedral. I used a gimbal paired up with the ReeLapse app to get a brilliant transitioning walking shot all the way up to the cathedral. The trick here is to walk at a steady pace and make sure that that subject, the cathedral in my case, is in the center of the frame. I know this can be tricky, especially in busy locations. Luckily, I didn't bump anyone over while I was performing this shot, but I tell you what, the results were epic. Now, if you want to step up the quality of your time-lapse shot, then use an add-on lens. The ReeFlex G series lenses, man, you can't go wrong with this. I've done a video on these, I'll link them below as well, but I used a combination of different ReeFlex G series lenses to get some brilliant landscape time-lapse shots. I used a G series fisheye lens at Trafalgar Square to get an absolute unique perspective on that landscape. A lot of people are scared of the fisheye lens. I don't know why. I love using the fisheye. It's brilliant for landscape shots. It just gives you something really unique. But if you want something truly cinematic, then you got to pair it up with the anamorphic lens. Man, I love this lens. And when I got to Houses of Parliament in London, I got a super wide, immersive, cinematic shot with the ReeLapse app and the anamorphic lens. I was shooting at 0.5 seconds with 5 seconds cloud effect, and the results, and they were brilliant. The last tip I've got for you is to use a power bank. Now, iPhone batteries are pretty good these days, but when you're shooting time-lapse video, there's a lot of processing power happening in that app. And depending on how long you're shooting there, sometimes you might be sitting there for 30, 40, or even up to an hour capturing that perfect time-lapse. You carry a power bank, you can charge your phone in between shots, or do what I did here at the London Eye. I just plugged that power bank straight into my iPhone. Now let's talk about light trails, because I told you earlier there was a second effect called light trails. This setting's brilliant if you're shooting moving light, especially from a distance, and you get this really cool swishing light effect. Now I had to get out of central London pretty quickly before it got dark, but on the way home, on the M40 motorway, I pulled over and I had to try out the light trail feature. At 3-second interval and 3-second light trail effect, I got some brilliant results over that motorway, seeing those cars zooming past. I was also able to get some cool light trail reflections off of a sign on the motorway. It just added to the shot. I wasn't expecting it, but I think it came out all right. So if you're into time-lapse shots, you gotta check out the ReeLapse app on your iPhone. It's so much fun to use. Just the pure convenience of having an app on your iPhone everywhere with you, you will just capture time-lapse videos that you would never have been able to capture any time before. Guys, if you want to learn more about filmmaking with your iPhone, check out this video right here, and I'll see you in the next one.